No.
Not quite, but let's call it 10 o'clock.
Our President, Father, we thank you so much for this beautiful day. We thank you for living in a country where we can publicly worship you. I ask that you be with this meeting, to be pleasing in your sight. And Lord, you have lots of disciples. I ask that you give them your grace, your strength, and your wisdom to spread your word throughout the country, to bring your children back to you. I ask you to go with each and every family here, keep them safe and out of harm's way. Forgive us our many sins. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. At this time, any person with business before the court not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the court. No formal action will be taken on these items. At this meeting, each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. No takers? Okay. We'll go ahead and move on to presentation and discussion of department head, committee, and board reports. Don't see anything that was concerning.
The ones I can see look good.
Yeah, we'll get that fixed.
We still need to work on something with our DPS to get our fines back up. We're a half or a third of what we used to receive. And I know they're back from the border now.
Yeah.
They did give some tickets out, more than anyone else, but there's still something there we need to do, build them a shed or something out here, get them to stop more of these trucks.
Yeah.
Here's the Mitchell County now.
They're out in Fisher County.
Mitchell County.
Oh, Mitchell, oh,
Here's
yeah,
the-
they've got that,
Yeah,
sure.
here's he's not here, not Scurry anymore.
I
No,
saw him the other day, actually, on
Yep.
25th Street.
Yep.
Somebody stopped.
Yeah, he comes around occasionally.
Okay, anything further there? All right, approval of previous court minutes. You talked to her about your corrections that you've
The
seen?
corrections.
Judge, I make the motion, we approve the previous court minutes with the corrections as stated.
Okay. All in favor? Okay. Inter-precinct project schedule and staffing.
Should be through hauling concrete from the golf course today. There wasn't as much there as what they thought there was.
Oh, that's good. Dinner? We're gonna go on to employee of the month. I've told her this morning. This person has done a great job since she started at the library. Has brought in all kinds of new programs, brought in more people, and is just doing amazing over there. So I'll let you know that's Amy Hodges.
congratulations.
I gotta get up and come around here. Get a picture.
Thank y'all so much.
That table got too big. We gotta get up.
Hey,
y'all want this desk?
It's good
for you. Yeah.
Hold one side.
That's what we say.
Amy, you hold your other.
Really?
Come on, Melody. Sit in one of the chairs, I'll just get you from right. All right.
I'm still.
1, 2, and 3.
No,
Perfect.
and Napa, they
I love the
spray.
sweatshirt.
Gotta support Seymour's.
This one is yours.
So they would self-protect too.
Thank you, Amy, for everything you do for the community.
I'm not.
All right, now we'll go ahead and accept donations to the county entities. We have the library, which is a whole list of things, $710 in cash. And then
And the book sale is not on that one because we actually didn't turn it in until after the 1st of November, but
Yeah.
we did make over $4,400 on our book sale.
4,400, that's.
I know in your report, I saw a lot more than what.
Yes, yeah. But it actually, so
It's coming.
Yep.
Gotcha.
we did good.
Thank you.
And then the senior hit center has $27.76 and $330.
Make a motion to accept the donation to county entities as stated.
Second.
All in favor? All right, we'll go ahead and bring Daniel up so he can get back to work. Or to consider and discuss implementing work steps and fit for duty programs. Daniel has talked to me about this a couple of times. It sounds like it's a good program. Yes, sir, please. To put into place, and Misty and I met with him about 2 weeks ago, something like that.
Got a couple, I might need to share a little bit, but I did get to, since we all kind of thumb through. I'm gonna keep one for my own reference. All right, so, for those of y'all who don't know me, my name is Daniel Burke. I just recently opened up a PT clinic here in town on a square called Science Physical Therapy and Sports Rehab. And one of the things we wanted to do in bringing and opening up this business in Snyder was to offer a service that really hasn't been offered so far, at least that I know of. But it's a service that even current employers in town are actually traveling out of town to San Angelo, Abilene, Big Spring, Midland to get. So the name of the program is called Work Steps. And if you kind of look at these little handouts in the pocket there, the first thing is what's the real benefit of Work Steps? The idea is to help you hire right, as you see that flyer kind of say. Essentially what we're doing is we're trying to, when hiring, this is an employee testing program where whenever you would offer a job to someone along with the background check and the drug test that you may do, this is just one of those other tests that would go alongside and accompany that. But the test that we're really trying to provide to the employer is that with the position that the employee is actually going to enter into, there's going to be various physical demands. Okay, so how do you know how well that employee is able to uphold to the demands? Well, that's what this testing comes in and does. So say you have someone who has to, maybe climb into heavy machinery, maybe you got bulldozers or whatever else it may be. And, the first step is 3 feet in the air, just guessing, maybe, but it's a tall step, right? They've got to be able to climb in, they got to be able to climb out. Maybe there's going to be some shoveling that's going to be done during the day. Maybe there's going to be some mixing of concrete. We're going to have to lift 80-pound bags of cement. Some of these various loads that an employee is going to have to undergo, how you know they're actually able to do it. Okay, and so what we do is, this isn't a blanket kind of test, but what we would do is we would take every employee who's been offered a position, they would come in and they would do this test where, well, if they are going to have to climb up a pretty tall step, we're going to make sure that, and they're going to do it 10 times a day, we're going to actually make them do that so that they can prove, yes, they can do that. Can they lift an 80-pound bag of cement? Well, we're going to make them lift an 80-pound load and carry it as is appropriate per the requirements of the job. Okay? And what this does is it allows the employer to rest a little more easy, knowing that if someone has gone through the background check, gone through the drug test, gone through this test, that they are physically capable and ready to enter into that position without as much risk of just maybe getting injured. You know what I mean? So that next little paper, I kind of move on. Well, I'll say a couple of different percentages there that you can kind of see that with these kinds of services that are used, most of the time employers see a 40 to 50% reduction in injuries, physical injuries in their workforce. And also there is a 38% reduction in group health costs as a result of implementing this kind of service. Okay. So as that next page, that one that's kind of stapled together, has the blue work steps there on top. What this really is this was actually a test designed and made in Odessa, actually by a physical therapist in a very similar industry and economy that we live in, an oil field and all those things. And that's the struggle that those employers were undergoing too. This man began to offer it to several employers, and they saw a big impact. And so then it just really spread around the employers in that area. And now this is a really nationwide test that employers all over the country. Okay. So what does this test look like? Well, it looks a little different for every single employee, right? I've got, the county hires like a lot of different types of positions. We have the library, we have someone who's working in the courthouse, but we also have someone working in dozers. We have people working in heavy machinery. So we're not going to have someone who is like, say, at the tax and registration office, let's say you pound loads. That doesn't make sense for them. Okay. But for each person who comes in, depending on the position, we are going to test them up to what they are going to be required in their position. Okay. One of the things that, since this test has been around since about the 80s, if you notice on the first in 1986 when this one was made, it's had time. I didn't make this test up, but it's had time to kind of work out the kinks. But one of the interesting things, and I actually really chose to go with this one as a service in Snyder, because this one has had that time of testing where, people are going to try to file lawsuits and say, hey, well, you're doing something, illegal by making me take this test and not hiring me, all those kind of things. This test, in the way that it's implemented, has never failed in court. So it's legal. Right? It's lawful. The employer is well within the rights to make sure that the employee or the prospective employee can do what they're going to be asked to do. Now, as far as, I'll stop for questions in just a second. In this big old worksheet, which I'm not going to work through all that, right now, but that's kind of for your reference, so those first couple papers and set to the side. This folder, what it's going to have, it's going to tell you basically what it is, the essentials and what every test is going to have, but how it's also going to tell you how we determine what each position is going to be tested for. And that's that second bullet in the table of contents is job analysis, where that would be me going out and looking at each position or category position, of course, not necessarily every employee, but every position, and seeing what kind of physical demands that they have to go through. And then that's what ends up making it the test for each position, respectively. It also has policies in here so that y'all don't just have to figure out, okay, how do we make this part of our, policy and procedures? There are already sample policies that are available that can be adapted to y'all's policy and procedure. Okay. And there's just various other things in here. The main services, probably the most frequently one used is the post-offer pre-employment exam, which that is the one they've applied, they've interviewed, you've offered, background, all that. So it's a post-offer pre-employment test. That's the one that's mostly used. Okay. There's also another service in here that's the fit for duty one, which, if you have someone like who goes out for a total knee replacement and they do have kind of a laborious job, maybe they're checking meters and they got to kneel down like 50 times a day. I don't know, I'm just guessing. But if they got to do that, well, total knee, that might be kind of challenging. We just need to make sure that they're ready to come back so that they don't suffer a work-related injury because they weren't ready to come back. Okay. So that's kind of one of the other services that this also includes. So, if y'all have any questions? I'm sure you do.
Can you find employees that we can do this testing on?
Can we find them? Oh, okay, yeah. What's the question there, I guess?
It's not easy to find them.
So, Misty, how many employees do we hire each year on average?
Around 200.
Well, I mean, each year, how many?
Oh, that we yearly that are new employees.
Yes.
That's a hard. Right now we're kind of high. We're probably at 75.
Like at the jail, the
Yes, I mean
EMS.
turnover.
Yeah.
Those are our biggest areas. In courthouse, rare. Parks rare. You know those. EMS and sheriffs are our highest turnovers, obviously. And those would be the ones that would honestly you would see more of. I
And
feel.
also the office ones, is if somebody's retiring.
Yes.
There's a lot of the reason needing to hire in those positions.
So kind of the question behind your question, as I'm hearing, is of the available people we have apply, do we want to dwindle that down further? Is that kind of what you're asking?
It's very difficult, at least in Road and Bridge,
Yeah.
to find anyone, period.
And we've
Is
talked
that what the
about
question
this.
is though? That's your concern?
I mean, this is just a tool for us to know this person went in and kind of, they worked with him, you know, they might have struggled in this area. It doesn't mean that you do not have to hire them, just so you're aware of, you know, kind of what's going on, like that.
It was kind of facetious.
Okay. Well, I think it is important. I will say though, I do get that question. I mean, I've talked to quite a few employers and I do get this question of like, okay, well, like, I'm not trying to like keep people from getting hired, but I'm trying to hire. Yeah, right. So here's the thing. We're not making an impossible test. Okay. That's not the point. The point is we're trying to accurately, we're trying to get the employee, the prospective employee to demonstrate what they're gonna have to do. So actually, it would be illegal for me, say if someone was gonna have to lift an 80-pound bag of concrete and say, hey, let's just be safe and make sure, let's take it to 100. That would be illegal for me. That's not what they're gonna have to go through. So I guess in some ways, whenever you are gonna make a hire, if you are gonna hire someone and you're kind of like not sure they can lift an 80-pound bag, well, you're kind of begging for them to get hurt, to be honest, anyway.
So
So,
we've heard them that we found relatively soon that they were not capable of doing the work that they needed to do.
Yeah.
Which cost the county something for sure. So what I've started doing is just hiring people part-time starting out to make sure they're a good fit and that they can actually do the work that they're supposed to be able to do. But yeah, your service will be good for that as well. I mean, there's quite a bit of time between getting someone drug tested and actually being able to get them hired. And so there would be a great interim time to actually send them to do that service.
Yeah, and that's something that we talked about as well, was how long the time frame? Are we talking week, 2 weeks, a month? But it's a relative.
it's quick. So basically, whenever, what would happen is after the offer has been made, whoever is kind of controlled, like HR or safety, you know, whichever that person would be, they would call our office and then they would get that scheduled for, you know, Joe Blow, right? Whoever's going to come in. And they would get that scheduled in the clinic, which really on those, you know, we're trying to get those in quick. You know, we're not going to say like, oh, 2 weeks out, like, oh man, I need this guy now. No, we're going to try and get them in quick. Okay. Because we know y'all need that report. And so how long does it take to do the report? Well, actually, we'll get that report to you, if not like the end of that day, like the next day for sure. So we're not going to try to slow down the process of hiring. We're just going to try to help you rest a little more confidently that the person who's coming in, they're capable.
So what does it take, 2 weeks to get a drug test back?
Roughly. And
So
he is just across the street also, like,
Mm-hmm.
so.
So you can do it within those 2 weeks?
Oh yeah. Well, within the 2 weeks. If it's taking y'all 2 weeks to get a drug test back.
That's roughly, yeah.
So what I would suggest, the offers made, y'all start the background check and drug test, and then y'all just start all those processes at the same time.
Call him.
And then, yeah, we could definitely do it in 2 weeks. We're already doing this testing. You know, we have employers who are enrolled in this program. And, you know, I mean, I think the the most we've ever had to push someone out was maybe 2 days, you know? Not as hard to get them in that day, you know, and if the next day was real busy, but usually by that third day, there was flexibility within the schedule. So
And it's $250 for each.
it's 200
200
per test.
Okay.
So this is a little different, too. The reason why, this is a little different than like a DOT physical, where you kind of, it's mostly kind of like a doctor's visit. It's gonna be a little different, right? They're gonna come in and they're gonna actually, I'm gonna be, as a physical therapist, I'm gonna be like looking at their posture, at their range of motion. I'm gonna be looking at their strength. I'm gonna look at really any indicators that would make this person like, okay, we need to kind of look into this a little bit more. This could be a problem for the position that they're going to be going into. Now, though, typically that part doesn't necessarily disqualify them from the position. It's really the job-specific tasks that are developed for that specific position. So, for instance, I had a guy come in last week who he was going to be working wind turbines. And some of the job-specific tasks for him, I've got a 10-foot ladder. Well, he had to climb 183 rungs on the ladder, you know, and so that, I mean, that's a very, I don't think, maybe not even everyone in here could do that, you know what I mean? So it's kind of one of those things that we're just, you know, wanting to make sure. He proved that he could do it. Was he tired at the end? Sure, you know, but was he okay? Yeah, he was okay. He did it just fine. So whenever the test from beginning to end is taking about 45 minutes to an hour. So we're spending a good amount of time making sure this person is prepared. So that's kind of why the charge is $200, just because this is not just kind of a get them in there 10 minutes, get them out, you know.
And it's not a contract, it's as we get one. Send them over.
Yeah, that's one of the things as far as, I mean, of course, anything that y'all look at in here definitely needs to go through like the attorney, right? The attorney y'all consult with, or the county attorney, however it works. But y'all need to make sure everything is going to be up and up on that. But as far as what has been laid out here for you, they've laid it out in the way in which it has withstood court for these last, 40 years. But one of the things that is necessary whenever you're doing this kind of testing is that, every person who is offered the job, they really need to go through this, because then if you don't make everyone go through it, you start to lose your defense, right? And so this is like every person who comes in, they really need to get this testing for you to be able to say, yeah, we weren't just being partial to someone and just letting them squeeze by this test.
So it's mainly physical.
Physical, I mean, we're also taking blood pressure, heart rate, all those things. So it's kind of a mix. It's a bit of both, We're taking the medical side too, but we are getting that physical part of the test as well. So it's a little more, it's quite a bit more fleshed out than like maybe a DOT physical.
And so what I'm getting at is that a lot of these offices within the courthouse and other places, it also deals with mental ability to do their work.
Mm-hmm.
Getting along with others has been a big problem at times.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't know if you.
It's not going to be a test on that, no. I mean, hopefully, I realize interviewing is not the easiest, but hopefully in the interview, there might be some kind of those signs, but that's not going to be something we directly test as far as like, do you work well with others? That's not going to be something we test. This is more physical. We're trying to reduce y'all's risk of having to go file in workers' comp and then make y'all's premiums higher. Because that's really where the savings comes from. You pay for this service, but the savings comes in for that you're not just having to file in workers' comp injuries all the time. So your premiums aren't just shooting through the roof. And then also the healthcare costs on y'all's group plan that incur, which affects y'all's premium, that also goes down too. So that's where the savings really comes in. And so, the kind of even the per diem kind of test rate tends to pretty repel in comparison to the changes that can happen on the whole accounting scale as far as the employee side of it.
It's an extra layer of protection.
I will say one thing that you kind of brought up. It is one of those things, if you are going to implement this test though, if someone does prove themselves to be not capable, you would really you'd be moving out of that defense in court, because then it looks like you're being partial. Now, say you have someone who is kind of a foreman type of person, like, where they're in that position and they're still considered like I know y'all may not have mechanics, right? But like someone who is a mechanic, but is kind of a lead mechanic or a supervising mechanic, is used really for their knowledge as opposed to their physical ability anymore. Just not able to do that. There is some provisions we can make as far as like having a mechanic 1, mechanic 2 position, where the mechanic 1 would be that kind of foreman, the one who's not necessarily undergoing all the physical demands that the mechanic 2 is. And so those kind of provisions can be made. Now, ultimately, every person who is hired every new person who's hired is going to be going through that mechanic 2 test. But, if there is someone, like I said, the more supervisory kind of role and more you need them for their mind, that is able to be done.
And those come from our job descriptions. The more detailed they are, the better.
And also the job analysis that I talked about, like going out and doing, which that is something that we haven't mentioned. So for basically every half day that I'm out, which I could probably get about 3 or 4 jobs analyzed in a half day, maybe more if things were really run efficiently, then that'd be $600 every half day, $1,200 a day. But that's going to be just in the beginning. Once the test has been developed, then you just carry out the test.
Any other questions?
Or concerns about it.
Concerns?
Yeah.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it.
You were talking about, you send somebody, send anybody up there, and they literally bomb the test, and they can't do the work, okay?
Mhm.
You don't hire them.
Mhm.
Here we go.
Here we go, what?
What would you call it? You don't offer them, you tell them you can't have the job because you can't do the work, okay? But don't that open it up for court?
Well, that's what I'm saying is like this has been being implemented exactly that way. And every time it's gone to court, it's always been made in favor of the test. The reason why you can actually do something like this and not worry about some legal repercussion is that you are testing the essential job functions. You're not asking them above and beyond, but only what is essential. So for instance, if you do have, how the ADA, says like, you must make a reasonable accommodation. There may be certain persons who may be, and I would put like not capable if they couldn't do it as is written, but I can write a comment on there that says, if this job function could be reasonably accommodated, this person could be hired. Like if they could still perform the job, that allows for that. But as far as, again, this is the reason why I didn't just make this test up on my own. I mean, the parts of the test, as far as like my training going through school, it would have been pretty easy to make this test up. But the nice part of actually using work steps, something that's been in place for the last 40 years, being used by thousands of employers, is that it's had that kind of testing where they've taken it to court.
Yeah, it's not new.
It's not new, right? So there's a little bit of, assurance knowing, okay, we're not just kind of like trying something out. We're not the guinea pigs. Y'all aren't the guinea pigs.
For once.
Yeah.
Conversely, if you hire that person, they can't do the work and you fire them, that could be going to court too, and then you don't have an expert that said you could do the job in the first place.
Right.
So you got a person here that's educated PT, that does the work, that says, I can see you can't climb 83 or 183 rungs on a ladder. And you just gotta say, I'm sorry, and because I just almost had this situation just recently, as most of you know, it came out on Facebook with all kinds of derogatory, and I told the person from the very beginning, you're part-time. If you're a good fit and you can actually do the work, then at some point I'll hire you full-time. Well, he was adamant that he was going full-time. And then whenever myself and my foreman said, look, you're not capable of doing this work.
So,
Save you that.
yeah, I was gonna say, that's kind of one thing, because there is still cost in hiring someone part-time, I imagine, right? Do they still having to go through the drug testing and all that stuff for that? So, and the time spent in training them, and then now I've got to find a new person. And you kind of circumvent that whole process all the way around. And you have something more concrete to say, hey, I was just looking at you and you don't seem like you're really keeping up. Therefore, I'm going to let you offer your part-time work, as opposed to through with the testing that we're doing, that, hey, every person who's going to be a heavy machinery operator, they've got to do this. Everyone who goes through and passes, they get to go do it. You didn't. I'm sorry. It's nothing personal, but this is like a essential requirement of this job that we can't work around. So for instance, like ADA, like if someone's going to be a heavy equipment operator, and you got to get in, there may not really be a reasonable accommodation to that type of position. If they got to get in the machine and they can't, well, and that's nothing personal. That's just not something they're able to do.
Well, I'm not saying it's not a good idea. I'm not saying.
Oh, no, I know. This is why I'm here. I want to answer all these questions. So nothing personal at all.
Yeah, I hope an elevator on a road grader isn't.
Yeah, you're like, this is reasonable. You're right.
Yeah, elevators will come on you guys.
I don't know. Some of the new machines coming are pretty fancy.
Oh.
So. Any thoughts? Oh, let me actually mention this too. We've been doing this since January. Now, we opened up last September. Started doing the process. I had done this back in school at one of my clinical rotations, and so I was familiar with this testing before. And like I said, I just thought it would be a valuable service to bring to Snyder. So now having this, if say y'all decided to participate in something like this, if I wasn't here, San Angelo or Abilene, and maybe Big Springs, the closest one, where you're paying gas, you may be paying food, you're maybe lending a vehicle that, potentially if they're going to take on the highway, there's a risk for, wreck, all those things. You save a lot of that. But what I was going to say is I haven't had to fail anyone this year at all. So we have had, let me think, if I were to give you some kind of, I bet we've tested 60 or 70 employees so far. Now, that's just because we've been offering it since January. But I haven't had to fail anyone. Everyone who has been, who's been offered a job and has come in and gone through the entire test, 45 minutes to an hour, they've all passed it. So again, it goes back to the whole thing of if you're really concerned about someone, getting here's my pool of applicants, am I going to dwindle them down more by this test? I haven't really seen that, probably through your interview process, if you're going to have someone do a heavy equipment operator, there's going to be a certain look of that person who's going to be having to get in there, it's going to be someone you're going to be looking at even in the interview process. That's, okay, this looks like a physical person who could probably take the demands of a physical job. That's part of the interview process, but this is to just make sure and objectify and say, yes, this person can do this.
We have job descriptions, of course, that's just a piece of paper too. But
right. Well, the thing
what you will be required to do.
Well, and that does bring up a good point. Here's the thing, and sometimes there's a reason why, and I have actually talked with because after you get trained, you still have questions. So I've called these people and asked, okay, what about this? What about that? And they also acknowledge most of the time on job descriptions, they're kind of made in an office, right? And most of the time, what happens is the job descriptions they kind of pale when they're accurately,
Vague.
yes, they're vague, right? And so that's where the job analysis comes in, where I'm going out there, I'm bringing scales. I have 4 gauges where I'm actually going to say, okay, what are like the things you have to do? Absolutely. And you can't get by without your job unless you do it. Well, I'm going to be taking measurements. We're going to take objective evidence to say, yes, this is required. This is the amount of force that's, applied to turn a wrench on to get a lug on for, whatever on a tire or something like that. So you're going to have something concrete to actually stand on.
It's something I think that would add that, I keep saying it, layer of protection for us. It's got some sample policies. Hadn't looked at them closely, but I wanted to bring it to y'all before we go into all of that, so. Y'all have any more questions or thoughts for Dan?
So is there an upfront cost?
So the upfront cost would be the amount of money it would take for me to go out there and do the analysis of each job. So if say y'all were going to do 10 job positions to start with, and that's one thing too. You don't have to do every job position. I mean, there's some job positions that are more risky than others, you don't have to do every job position. And I have asked this question to work steps, and they said some employers will, they'll look at this in a kind of a segmented, like they'll do like 10 job positions at this point, add 10, and then pretty soon the whole employee body, when they're new hires, when they're offered, they will be tested, or if it's like a fit for duty.
Right.
Yeah.
But my point was, if any of those department heads, elected officials, anybody comes up with a person, we call you, okay? You come out and see what they're gonna be doing, and that's a cost. And then the 200 to see if they can do it. But my point is that a upfront cost, period. Before we call it.
Like kind of like a initiation cost kind of thing.
Well, I mean,
Is that what you, well, I didn't answer your question. I'm sorry about that. So the cost that would be upfront, so say y'all started with 10 job positions, and if I'm able to get through 3 or 4, say that took me a day and a half to get through that. So that would be $600 for the morning, $600 for the afternoon, $600 for the morning. That'd be $1,800
right.
to analyze the jobs and then get that objective evidence that y'all be able to stand on in court. And then after that, I don't go back and analyze the job. We've analyzed it. Unless there's a real big change that y'all want to make to a job description, a real big change that affects some of those things. Then after that, it would be as often as y'all hire, then that would be the $200 per test that is done. So there isn't like a membership price.
That's what I was.
Okay, like a subscription.
If we don't send anybody to you, but we retain your services, is there a cost?
Like, is there a retainer?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
It's as often as you use my service, you pay for it.
Okay.
Sorry, no, that's, glad we got to the bottom of that.
Yep.
No, that's how that works, yeah,
Okay.
as often as you use it. So hopefully, like I said, one of the things they also find is there's a lower turnover rate.
Mhm.
So then hopefully, I mean, y'all won't have to use me like an increased amount, because we're making sure that whoever can do the job, can do the job.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm glad we got to that though.
I didn't make it very clear.
It's okay.
It would be, occasionally would be nice to have in the background going forward, that they would, like I said, keep the county out of mind, blah, blah, blah. If they're available and we want to use them, I think it would be fine, because that's gonna be up there for official, whatever.
I think if we implement it would need to be a countywide implementation, because then you run into allowing different departments to pick and choose whether to do it or not. You still run that risk of liability at that point. So,
I'll let it all,
But just to be clear, yeah, whenever you do a position, and like I said, part of this is so that you can have that defensibility in court. Whenever you say, we're going to participate in this program for these 5 positions, every person who then goes into that position, gets offered for that position, needs to be tested.
What about after the hire has been made and say they work a couple of years and then you begin to see that they're not capable? Is that something that you come back later on and have them retested?
So I don't have page numbers, but I'm gonna at least go to, yes, there is a testing that can be done with that. Kind of just quickly getting here. Okay, I'm probably from the back, I'm probably about, like I said, sorry, there's no page numbers, but I'm probably about,
Post-employment?
12, yeah, there's gonna say, there's gonna be a page that says types of post-employment work steps tests. Types of post-employment work steps tests. It's about like maybe 12 pages from the back. Okay, there are a few here. One is a post-employment fit for duty evaluation. So again, earlier we talked about a post-offer pre-employment. These are post-employment. These are someone who is an employee, okay? So there are post-employment fit for duty evaluations that are post-injury or illness. This is that person who goes out for total knee replacement or total hip or whatever it may be. Maybe completely unrelated from work injury, but just someone just needs to get it done. And they go through this so that y'all know that, okay, they're ready to get back to work. Now, that wouldn't be quite the full test. It would be the test of the tasks that they're going to require to do. So it's going to be a little bit shorter of a test. Now, the post-employment, if you look down at post-employment fit for duty uninjured, this one could, as you kind of read, it says this test type should be administered when a current employee is uninjured but is having difficulty performing one or more of the essential functions of their position, or there is some other reasonable basis for believing that an individual's ability to perform essential job function is limited or impaired by a medical condition. Now, this will ensure that the existing employee is able to meet the physical demand criteria necessary to safely perform the essential functions of the job. And you can see that, I mean, that's the main thing, right? You're talking about safety. That's the purpose of this. Now, that next page also touches a couple of these two, post-employment physical agility testing for existing uninjured workers. And you have also that last one, the post-employment physical agility testing for existing workers upon transfer. This is from job to job. Now they have a different job description. They need to be tested, but they probably have already gone through like the posture that I've looked at, the different, if they're, maybe we could go through it, but like cervical range of motion, if they have a lordosis in their lumbar spine or something like that, the things that I look at, this is going to be more for those who are transferring from one position to another position to get them tested for the new job description they're going to be under. And by the way, whenever y'all receive the test, right, it has really, it's not, you're not really going to see, oh, they had 90 degrees of right cervical rotation and 75, all those things that don't really matter to y'all. Y'all get kind of an abbreviated test where that says these job specific tasks, capable. And so you see what they're capable with and not, and any comments I might have made on that.
And so for this shorter test, same, still 200?
That can be lower. Usually it goes down, we go down to 150 since that is a shorter test.
Like look through the, what we get out. and
Yeah, I was thinking, I
read
could
it.
have Mike look at the, policies and we could come back, next meeting, make a decision on it.
But I'd like to read it.
And I have another one.
Okay.
I just kind of wanted that reference. So.
Yeah.
No, but
Any other questions?
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate your time.
Well, I will say thank y'all very much.
Thank you. No, I know he's gotta go make money. He's an independent contractor, or independent business owner. All right, we'll now talk about the tax abatement application from Cedar Draw Solar. How are you today?
Good, how are y'all doing?
Doing good, Troy.
Thanks for having me today. By way of introduction, my name's Troy Reed. I'm a senior property tax manager with Ernst & Young. I represent Linnea Energy, and they have a solar plus battery storage project in development coming in Scurry County. So met with Commissioner Williams and Judge Hicks back in May to informally introduce the project with Ellie Dantas with Linnea Energy. And, we had got the reinvestment zone approved in June. And today, what we've done is prepared and executed tax abatement application simply for the county's consideration for acceptance. I think as far as today, me being here would be to answer any questions, comments, or concerns about the application and, just ask for the court's permission just to formally accept the tax abatement application in order to possibly move on to the next step of seeing if there could be a tax abatement agreement that would be mutually beneficial for both parties to enter into. Tax abatements with renewable energy projects in Texas, very competitive market. And in order to de-risk the project, in order to strengthen the chance of it getting built, these go a long way. And so myself, my colleagues, the company, we would like to work with you all, figure out is there something that can be done that, from your financial perspective would work for the county business and would work for Linnea Energy and their project. We simply just want to get this project built, and anything we can do, we'd like to work on it. So I know, we have the application here. I don't know if we want to maybe start from the top or if you just want to, I know that you and I have discussed some maybe pertinent things that the county may want to see in a potential tax abatement agreement. I'm happy to discuss any and all, but I'll lean on you to maybe get us started.
Absolutely. And so, we've done these for years, and it's always been a payment each year, flat rate, whatever it is. Been seeing some other counties kind of ask for some different things throughout. And so I asked if Linnea might be willing to do an upfront payment. There are some things that we're looking at needing in the community. One of those is and they've applied for the grant twice and still waiting the second time here, but the sirens, that's one of them. Emergency management would like to have a vehicle, an emergency response vehicle that replaces the current trailer we have that would fit more people in it if we have some type of emergency. And so I requested to see if Linnea might be willing to fund that emergency response vehicle. It's $1,250,000, I think is what the cost was. And so I reached out to Troy and asked him about that as an upfront payment to lower the payments or change the payments, the rest of the payments. And so we discussed that a little bit, and you were looking into that as well.
Yeah, I've worked with the Linnea team, and I think it's a great idea. There's going to have to be some, the agreement, it could be done. They want to do the upfront payment where it would be, in order to get you the emergency response vehicle that you need. As far as what is known as what's unknown, this project's still very much in development.
Sure.
It's a good thing that the timeline of I think you said if you put in an order in 2026, it wouldn't be ready until 2028. And I think that is beneficial to both sides because as of right now, the Linnea team is very bullish on this project. Are they necessarily bullish on both the solar and battery component? They're still working out. You know, there was some, a little bit of delay since we met in May when the reinvestment zone was approved in June. And then when we subsequently, submitted the application this month. The delay was with the current administration. There is new permitting requirements that were being thrown a million miles an hour to the Linnea team. They had to work through that. There's so many different things going on that they had to understand. Now that the dust is settled and they kind of have the outline of what those requirements, they're more comfortable moving forward with, development of this project. And then there's also some interconnection issues where they formally applied to get the interconnection study done in February 2024, and then that was delayed. And so as far as sizing of not only the solar component, but the battery storage component, that wasn't known, but they're getting very close to getting that interconnection study completed, but they're feeling more and more comfortable. That said, a year and a half down the line, could the project change parameters? Absolutely. It definitely can. But that's something, I think the Linnea team is comfortable with the 1.25 million upfront, whichever way it goes, right? If this project is built, they're comfortable with that, structuring it. What's yet to be decided, what do those payments look like, those residual payments, if a portion of, let's say, battery storage, it just doesn't make sense to move forward with it. How do we revise those residual payments? But the good news is, as long as the project moves forward, that they are comfortable in, developing and co-authoring an agreement with the county in order to accommodate that $1.25 million upfront payment.
Okay.
So I don't know if there was a question, but I think that's where we stand right now. And I'm very, I'm delighted to hear that with the Linnea team that they were able to internally talk with their senior leadership and then they're on board. I think it's something at the end of the day, from my perspective, and these types of agreements, win-wins are always good, right? So,
And this is probably the first time most of the court has heard that idea. So any feedback would be great on that.
Sounds like to me, we just gotta see how far, if it keeps rolling and, when it gets far enough, and that does happen, we get the county attorney to
And he's
look at it.
been involved
I think-
from the get-go on this.
and with projects in development, these agreements help immensely. And what it does is simply de-risk projects. The developers know what they're gonna pay in property taxes. For renewable projects, property tax is the number one operating expense. So as long as on pen and paper that they know, at least for a portion of the all-in tax rate, the county component, they know what they're gonna be paying, when they're gonna be paying it, the timeline of it, that helps out a lot because, at the end of the day, there's gonna be, people that are putting pen to paper and, outlining what are the economics of this project, and they're gonna be feeding in a bunch of different parameters, and if we know at least one of those, that's gonna help
It
that.
won't be a surprise.
Exactly,
You'll know.
exactly, and it also helps the county too, because then you can budget on things. You know what you're gonna be getting, as long as that project is up, operating, and, there's agreement in place for stipulated pilot payments, you know what you're gonna be getting.
And the reason we're talking about the vehicle instead of the sirens is there's another company that we're talking to about sirens. So that one will be coming up quickly also. So both of those are in the works. I didn't want you to think that one is being chosen over another. So we would be looking at a public hearing, 30 days. Did we discuss those dates?
you put it in an email that we would be discussing them. I don't think
Yeah.
that there was definitive
Right.
actual dates.
Okay, let me see where. what in there.
Let's date her.
Got me drinking today.
You got the moonshine.
Grandpa's cough syrup.
Whatever it takes.
Ain't sure. Okay.
I
You
believe,
wouldn't like it.
I believe we're talking about the date being today is the 18th. 30 days would be, we would fall in the 30 days if we did a public hearing on the 16th of December. I know it sounds weird, but 7, 14, 21, 28, yeah. So that would give us time to do the posting and all if we had a public hearing on the 16th.
Is this for the public hearing to enter into a potential tax abatement? Will we be within 30 days?
Yes, sir. Well,
I think we need to be after 30 days.
yeah, it's after 30 days. So, yeah, so we are actually 7, 14, 28, 29, 30. Wait a minute. Get back up. No, we're not. I'm sorry. It didn't look like it. So we may have to put it in
Judge,
January.
if I can interject, I would
Yeah.
just think with the holidays being down this road before things come up quick and then the days slide by. So if
Yep.
we could push this to January, I think it would give both sides opportunities to give their legal any, review of red lines necessary. I think that would work out.
January 6th would be our next meeting, our first meeting in January. Y'all opposed to going forward with this?
With the application?
No.
Got an application?
So I think today's action, I would be just formal acceptance of the application, maybe consideration on setting January 6th as the date to possibly consider entering into a tax, or having the public hearing and possibly entering into a tax abatement agreement. However you'd want to phrase that.
I'm gonna make that one.
It's Cedar Draw Solar, but
You
we're
gonna
doing
say-
wind, is that right?
Did I put solar?
No,
It-
the company
He said
is
you-
Cedar Draw Solar LLC.
It is, this is going to be, did I say wind?
Well, that's what it says on the application.
Wind energy facility.
Well, we checked that box for renewable energy.
Yeah.
Since there wasn't a solar.
We might change that application going forward.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No,
this is a solar facility, but that box was checked on the, as for a renewable energy project rather than a wind energy facility.
Yeah, it's got,
Sorry about that.
it
No,
says
that's
wind
fine.
energy / renewable energy.
Yeah. We can fix that to where we have, I'll bring it to the court to change that application. To include solar. So timelines are gonna be different, for the solar and the battery, correct? It's simply, part of it is because of the requirements by the federal government as far as timelines go.
To be decided, as far as the exact timing, I would have assumed that best case scenario is that they would line up, but just seeing, in my experience, projects being built and
Sure.
there would be deferring timelines, but I'll get with the client and shore up exactly the timing of that, and we can, work through any possible stipulations through an agreement, what we would need to do.
Okay.
Or if we need to, I don't think that they're gonna be that far off.
So we're not gonna need to separate them out?
I don't think so.
Okay.
And if there was, maybe there would be an assignment process in the future,
Sure.
but at this time, I don't anticipate.
Okay.
That being
We
needed.
did that with Canyon out there, just kept getting behind,
Yeah.
and we had to keep,
Yeah, 4 different times.
I know, Lord, do I know.
Well, it was some talk about data center. Is that still in the works or possibly still talking about it, or is that out?
Well, for this company, as far as the development of this project, it is to generate the load. But as far as the business case, they foresee this area in Texas in general,
Yeah.
going to be a huge population boom of data centers. And it's by them locating this facility at this specific place, I think that they're forecasting that there is going to be some, not necessarily their, part of their, portfolio of projects, but they anticipate data center, build outs in and around the area. And it's just a good place on the grid to, be able to build a project like this.
And that ties in with exactly what Senator Perry was saying a couple of weeks ago, this whole area from.
Oh, they're gonna tile the United States with them eventually. We just have to be the easiest place to
West
start.
Texas in particular.
Yeah.
Okay, so I made the motion. Was there a second?
John?
All in favor? All right,
Judge, Commissioners, appreciate your time. We'll be in touch soon.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you being here. We made sure you had plenty of time to enjoy our meeting.
I did.
All right, court to discuss and consider lease agreements for various mowers and blades for golf course. So we have two. I think we can make this pretty easy. Go ahead, Sid. Come on and talk to us. Thank you, Troy.
So presented to the court two lease options, one's through Huntington, I believe the other one's Cadence.
Cadence.
If y'all had a chance to look through them, pretty simple. The one through Huntington is pretty extensive.
So I will show these to you, having gotten them back from the county attorney.
2 pages.
2 pages, no notes. No notes. Bunch of pages, bunch of the notes. Essentially,
So what are you saying?
this one would be the one that he's requesting a bunch of changes that they may or may not make.
Yeah.
It's about the same amount, isn't it, for
Actually, the Cadence is cheaper.
Cadence, it's cheaper.
Cadence has always been easy to deal with.
My suggestion and my request, because I'll have to do the between, let's go with the Cadence.
Second.
There you go.
That's your motion?
That's my motion.
And it will be the 5-year.
Okay. Very good.
The first payment's not paid until 2026, because it's not budgeted until then.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. All right, motion and second, all in favor? Thank you. That's gonna be a quick and easy one. All right, court discuss and consider janitorial agreement for the probation office. They have done cleaning for the probation office for years. We did one recently for the library. We should have had one of these in place. I don't know that we've ever seen one, but we have one. And everybody would like to keep it in place. I think there's a change in cost.
It was 500 a month, now it's
Yeah.
1,300 and something a month.
Yeah.
So it is quite a bit more, but the
Right.
one for the library annex, whatever, it was $350 a month and it is now $1,120 something a month.
Right, and those haven't changed.
And they had not changed well, I didn't even have copies of these agreements, so
Right.
I don't know, we've been paying,
Yeah.
we have been paying the probation one $500 a month since I've been here. So, I mean, I get that there's an increase. Si says that they do a good job there, so I'm not gonna go clean his building, so.
Yeah, but I'm not even.
No.
And it does help, because the people who go and clean it, they get a portion of it, they get that money. So
Right.
it's MHMR, people who go, so. We would have to do a budget amendment in January for both the probation and library to capture the increase in this, cost.
We'll see what else you do, right?
Yeah, no kidding. I'll make the motion, we approve the probation office janitorial services for 2026 with a budget amendment coming in January.
Second.
All in favor? Well, I failed to send these to myself. It's taking its time. The next agenda item is court discuss and consider going out for RFPs for exterior repairs, removal, or replacement of decorative facade at the Armory. Let me get these pictures.
About to fall off.
Yeah, so right here you can see that is tipping out. That one is tipping out, that one is coming out as well. And that's the front of it, or the other side of it. It's not tipping out as far, but all the mortar is gone. Let's see if the other one comes up.
Can we get these fracking guys to help pay for this? Seems like this, I'm seeing buildings all over town that are doing this very thing.
Yeah, you see that crack right along there? You can see lots of mortar is missing in all of those. That's that same one. A little closer to the crack. This building was built in 1956 or 1957. Don't know that anything has ever been done for that part of the facade. Matt has always also found that these columns, if you bump them, they move. I'm assuming that there is a pipe that goes down the middle or something that goes down the middle, because I just can't see brick being the structural part of it. I could be wrong. We do have a quote of a little over $4,000 to repair or sturdy that up. But my major concern is one of these falling off.
Oh my goodness.
So I would like to see us get RFPs for repairs or to do something there. What are your thoughts?
Needs to be fixed.
I want to get it, man.
Well,
Judge, I make a motion that we go out for RFPs to repair the Armory.
Clear?
Return them.
And, I guess the first meeting in January. Don't want to mess up our holidays.
All in favor? Thank you. All right, approval of treasurer's monthly reports.
There are a lot of them.
Yeah.
You're caught up. And knock on wood, nothing else catches something in the system.
We'll include personnel reports in that also.
Judge, I make a motion, we approve treasurer's August and September. Wait a minute.
July, August, September, October.
Monthly reports along with the personnel report.
Second.
All in favor? All right, approval of the quarterly investment report.
Do you have any questions on that? Yours is in the fourth quarter.
Oh,
So, okay. I was like,
well,
so you'll see yours in this coming quarter.
I make a motion, we approve the third quarter monthly report.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, approval of county auditor's October 2025 monthly financial report. It's online.
Make the motion to approve the auditors. Monthly report.
Second. All in favor?
Oh, I hear about myself.
Certified revenues, any?
No.
Okay, we'll go to line item transfers and budget amendments.
Okay, the line item transfers, we have county clerk, 3,500 going into travel out of, is it $3,500, $35? The first one doesn't have a period and the other one
It's
does.
$35.
Okay,
It was just, we just were short a little bit.
okay,
Yeah, it's just $35.
$35 from records into travel. Then the jail, $1,700, clothing allowance, from operating supplies into clothing allowance. Youth center, $200 out of operating supplies into education and travel. Precinct 2, 8,000 into tires, 10,000 into maintenance and repair, 3,000 into operating out of machine hire, capital outlay, and fuel and oil. Precinct 4, 4,000 into tire, 8,000 into maintenance repair, both the total of 12,000 out of part-time. Golf course, $275 into tires and tubes out of clothing allowance. Golf course, $6,500 pro shop out of part-time. Those are all the line item transfers. And there's a couple budget amendments. Budget amendment for the elections administration. All of them is in her 4840 line, which is election expenses, for a total of $1,541.19. She just has it detailed what each one was that she was doing. And then the second one is the same thing, election expense line, but it's her notices for $256. Then there's a budget amendment of $1,999.22. It was from certified revenues that I certified last time, placing it into education and training. And that is all this time. Yours will be on the next report
I'll
too.
make a motion to approve line item transfer and budget amendments as presented.
Second.
All in favor? And accounts payable.
Accounts payable is $1,043,559.43.
Pay the bills and take it.
All in favor? Alright, we do have an executive session pursuant to personal matters. 551.074, the Texas Government Code, EMS employee Ashley Jones.
Scared me, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.